Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Devo with me, Beau. Hope you guys are well today. It is Genesis 26. That's what we're going to be in today, and it's a really relevant passage. Boy, we really see some cool stuff in the Bible very early on. Boy, you could tell that many people, Christians, Muslims, do not read the book of Genesis. Or if they read it, they don't read it really and think about it because things are detailed pretty good. And lo and behold, if you read it and you actually believed it, then we wouldn't have the Middle Eastern issues today as we do, because we'd all just go, hey, this is the deal. This Abraham guy had an encounter with the true and living God. And a promise was given to him about that land, not only for him, but for his descendants through a guy named Isaac. And it would go from generation to generation. The land would be given to Abraham and his generations to follow him through Isaac. And there would be a blessing to those who bless them and a curse to those who curse them. And it would be through this lineage that this Messiah character will come. This child will be born. And so that's what we get already. from the Bible. Not only just that, but we see that that's a real big theme right now. So it shouldn't be too much of a, again, it seems like if we just said okay, then we'd be fine. But there's always contention, isn't there? Sibling rivalries. And boy, do we see that even in this chapter. So it says a severe famine now struck the land, as had happened before in Abraham's time. And so Isaac moved to Gerar, and where Abimelech, king of the Philistines, lived. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt, but do as I tell you. Live here as a foreigner in this land, and I will be with you and bless you." This is a real step of faith for Isaac. I mean, when things happen, you want to prepare, don't you? Hey, go down to Egypt. Make sure it's a famine here. Go down to Egypt, get your stuff, prepare, hunker down, and there's plenty of supplies for the family, and you'll be fine. That's logic. But then there's the stay here in the land of famine, and I'll be with you. I'm going to bless you. And sometimes that's in our lives too, right? Stay here in the land of famine, and I'm going to bless you. But you got to stay. You got to walk by faith. You're going to have to trust me. Instead of just going to what is logically the case. Sometimes the walk in the Messiah, the walk in Jesus, the walk in Yeshua, the Hebrew for Jesus, is a walk that might not make all the sense in the world. Selling all you have, give to the poor. You live in that nice house, selling the nice house, downgrading so you're not so stressing out everybody in your family financially. Doesn't make logical sense. It's logically right to hold on. But God might be saying, no, let's go a different direction. Trust me. As we pray and seek the Lord and worship, there might be something that's said to us that's a little different from what is the kind of ongoing logic that seems to be prevailing in the world. Especially when it comes to our finances, right? Man, well, it's financially logical just to do this. But that might not be what the Lord's calling you to do. And so it says, I hereby will confirm that I will give all these lands to you and your descendants, just as I solemnly promised Abraham your father. So you see the reiteration of the covenant with Isaac. So if someone were to argue that, hey, God's encounter with Abraham was just for Abraham, well, that's obviously wrong. Why? Because we see the covenant repeated with the descendants of Abraham. Hey, just as I told Abraham, so I'm going to tell you. I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky. I will give them these lands. It's a reiteration all the way from Genesis chapter 12, right? That it's going to be a father of nations, a lot of people. All this. The land is going to be from Isaac, who was from Abraham. And it says, I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky. I will give them the lands, and through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. There will be a blessing through this lineage. So you see why the Bible is moving in this direction. The whole theme, once again, is there's going to be a Messiah, a blessing to the world, to reconcile God and the humans that are made in his image. They once walked in the garden, but now there is a separation between the deity and human beings. There is brief moments of revelation and brief moments of the appearance of God, even in a body on the planet. But there's no permanency in the relationship, in the intimate relationship between the deity and those made in his image. This is going to happen when the adversary, this Satan, the devil, gets defeated by this kid who's going to be born of this family. So you could see that this is the theme of the Bible. It's not rocket science. It's not hard to figure out. It's just simply telling us that the Messiah is coming on the planet. And he's going to be born, and we're going to get more of who this Messiah is going to be exactly as we go on. But we're just getting the family. So Isaac stayed in, it says, I'll do this, God says, because Abraham listened to me and obeyed all my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions. There was a doing. Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, but then he followed, he went, he moved. Boy, I want to be a person who doesn't just listen, but I want to move. I want to, faith without works, right? I want to be that person who has not only faith, but also that faith that works. And it says, so Abraham stayed in Gerar. And when the men who lived there asked Isaac about his wife, Rebekah, he said, she is my sister. He was afraid to say, she is my wife. He thought, they will kill me to get her because she is so beautiful. Now this sounds very much like what happened to Isaac's dad and Isaac's mom, Sarah. This happened twice actually with Abraham, but you see it happening with Isaac again. And also you see the idea that, she is beautiful. Again, Rebekah being a beautiful woman. Nothing's wrong with that. That's okay. There's objective beauty. And that's a whole discussion, by the way. It could be a podcast. I think I've done a podcast on that before on my Running Light podcast. But it says, but sometime later, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out his window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah. So Abimelech's already thinking like, hey, you know what? This is Isaac's sister. She's beautiful. Hey, maybe we can connect. And he notices, though, that Isaac is getting fresh with Rebekah. So he's going, something's going on. Immediately Abimelech called for Isaac and exclaimed, she is obviously your wife. Why did you say she's my sister? So you could see that there was a different role going on between Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac wasn't treating Rebekah as a sister. He was treating her as a wife. It's really important that us men know our roles in the lives of women. This is something that has caused a lot of pain on the planet. Is a lot of times men will use women not as a sister or a friend, but they'll use them as a wife. They'll treat them, I should say, as a wife. You don't treat your sister as a wife. You don't treat a friend that's a girl as your wife. Those are mixing roles, and it's not good. And it really can damage, right? You might be an uncle. You might have a niece. Do you treat your niece with respect and honor? Or have you treated a niece as a wife? You could see, that Abimelech said, hey, you're not treating, Rebekah as a sister. Because even in that day, there was the social norm that you don't do that to your sister. That's another podcast of just all the hardship that has happened in this world, the damage that has taken place in human hearts, because we haven't been able to stay in our lane very well. And we've breached trust in family relationships. This has happened all too much, as most of you know. And it says, she is your wife, obviously. Not your sister, because I was afraid someone would kill me to get her from me, Isaac replied. That's why I lied. Notice that fear is running Isaac's life, just as fear ran Abraham's life. And sometimes we find this in our world, that we are a lot like our parents. There's some things that we have done and worked on to not be like our parents. But then there's other things that we find, little idiosyncrasies that we find that we kind of are like our parents in certain ways. It's hard to get away from all of it. It's hard to be totally separated. We find ourselves sometimes so much, and that can be scary to a lot of us, where we look in the mirror and we go, wow. And to be honest like that and say, man, I'm a little bit like my family. That can be quite a scary revelation, one that a lot of us do not want to go down. There's too much fear there. Instead of maybe being honest and just saying to God in those private moments, God, I see that there is a similarity between me and the things I don't like about my parents. Help me to change. Take my life, make me different. Motivate me, move me. Create in me a clean heart and a right spirit within me, that kind of idea. But here we're faced once again with that truth that, just as just as Abraham did something and he worked and lived out of fear, so we see Isaac doing the same. And he says, how could you do this to us? Abimelech exclaimed, one of my people might easily have taken your wife and slept with her, and you would have made us guilty of a great sin. So we can see that even in this day, it was a great sin to take someone's wife. That adultery was something that they knew was not the way to go. Then Abimelech issued a public proclamation. Anyone who touches this man or wife will be put to death. And when Isaac planted his crops that year, he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted, for the Lord blessed him. He became a very rich man, and his wealth continued to grow. Isn't that great? Where he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted. The investment of harvest. I think there's something to this too, of just staying in your land and just planting, right? And just planting your crop, just doing what you do. Sometimes financially, people are always looking for the quick fix, the quick, hey, this is going to yield, 15% interest. I'm going to take everything and go in there. Hey, cryptocurrency, I'm going to go over there. And people are looking for that quick, get rich scheme kind of thing. But I love how Isaac, instead of going to Egypt, where was a sure deal that he was going to be able to be okay in the famine, God says, hey, you stay in the land and you trust me. And he plants whatever he has. And guess what? 100 times more grain than he planted. Now, doesn't this sound a little familiar? He who comes to me will receive 100-fold. Have you ever heard that before from someone? If you come to me, he who leaves, family, house, this, that, blah, 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 my sake, will receive 100-fold. Isaac planted his crops that year and he harvested 100 times more grain than he planted. 100-fold. Jesus knows this passage pretty well, right? That when we come to Jesus, man, there is 100 times more of gain than loss. Jesus is saying, when you come to me, you don't realize, but you gain way more. You gain 100 times more. You trust me. Stay faithful. Stay focused. I got a blessing for you that's 100 times more than what you have harvested, than what you have. So much more. And here we see that in Isaac's life in a very practical way in the planting of crops. And he became a very rich man and his wealth continued to grow. And sometimes in investments, it's sometimes just good to stay faithful in your investments. And over time, you see a great increase. And it says, but it takes time and it takes patience in financial investing. And it says he acquired so many flocks of sheep and goats, herds and cattle and servants that the Philistines became jealous of him. So the Philistines filled up all of Isaac's wells with dirt. These were the wells that he had dug, that had been dug by servants of his father Abraham. So Abraham's servants dug these wells. They have these. They get wealthy. They have a great business going, and you see jealousy stemming up. Enemies coming. Philistines coming. So very early on in the Bible, we see a issue with these people called the Philistines. And it says, finally, Abimelech ordered Isaac to leave the country. Go somewhere else, he said, for you have become too powerful for us. So Isaac becomes a business that is taking up everything. He's the Amazon of the day. Isaac the Amazon, right? The Amazon trucks, the Amazon, hey, man, you're taking up everything, man. Can you go someplace else? Finally, Abimelech did that and ordered Isaac to go. So Isaac moved away to the Gerar Valley, where he set up their tents and settled down. So he goes into the valley and he builds a giant Amazon building. I love putting it in that kind of way, right? Those giant buildings out in the desert, out in the valley, And it says there he settles down and he reopened the wells his father had dug, which the Philistines had filled in after Abraham's death. And Isaac also restored the names Abraham had given them. So you can see that the Philistines weren't just out to, in a sense, end the business of Isaac by filling up the wells with dirt, making them no longer usable. But you can see that they even tried to desecrate them, just absolutely, crush them, so that they even changed the names kind of idea, like getting rid of even the appearance that they were Abraham's. So this was a real nefarious plot of the Philistines in the land of Canaan. And this land, which is promised to Isaac and Isaac's descendants, there already is a tussle with the people of the land, i.e. the Philistines. And so you could see that even in our day when we say it is the land of the Philistines, right? It sounds very much like Palestine. You can see where, those are some rooted words. There's some issue there. There's some family issue there that goes way, 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 way back, right? Where the Philistines don't just want to get them out of the land, but wants to change the names. Changes everything. No longer make it a Hebrew name. Maybe change it into a different one. Very relevant to our day, right? And what goes on in the Middle East, in the land of Israel today. And so it says, Isaac's servant also dug in the valley, in the Gerar Valley, and discovered a well of fresh water. So these are Isaac's servants now digging wells. But then the shepherds from Gerar came and claimed the spring. This is our water, they said, and they argued over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So it's interesting, right? Abimelech kicks them out. They go to another valley. They dig wells. They find good soil. They find, hey, let's cultivate. Let's make it grow. Hey, Isaac's business is jamming. And now the people of the land, those that have been there say, hey, we want that land. They never dug the water, but they want it. And it says, this is our water, they said, and they argued over it with Isaac's herdsmen. So Isaac named the well Esek, which means argument. Isaac's men then dug another well, but again there was a dispute over it. This sounds so much like our world today. Who really wanted the land of Israel over the last 2,000 years? It was just, you read about it and there wasn't much out there. Not too many people really fighting over the land. It was kind of yucky. but then it becomes a beautiful land, a land that's cultivated after the time of the Holocaust. And the Jewish people go back to the land, and it becomes a fertile area. And now they want the land. The other people want the land. It's our land. We want this land. Israel has gotten quite rich, just like Isaac, just like Abraham. Isn't that interesting? All the same things going on are very similar, I must say. And so, abandoning that one, Isaac moved on and dug another well. This time there was no dispute over it, so Isaac named the place Rehoboth, which means open space. For he said, at last the Lord has created enough space for us to prosper in this land. Keep moving, keep building, keep moving, keep building, keep business going, keep moving, keep da-da-da, until finally there's some kind of peace in the Middle East, right? Same stuff going on. From there, Isaac moved to Beersheba, where the Lord appeared to him on the night of his arrival. I am the God of your father, Abraham, he said. Do not be afraid, for I am with you, and I will bless you. I will multiply your descendants, and they will become a great nation. I will do this because of my promise to Abraham, my servant. Then Isaac built an altar there and worshipped the Lord, and he set his camp at that place, and the servants dug another well, another altar, another place to remember where the Lord spoken to you. Altars are always cool like that in the Bible. They seem to be a place where, hey, when the Lord does that revelation thing, when he kind of reveals himself to you, what do? You build an altar. Man, you worship the Lord there. And it says, one day Abimelech came near Gerar with his advisor, Huzath, and also Pisgah, his army commander. Why have you come here? Isaac asked. You obviously hate me since you kicked me off your land. Hey, why are you coming over here, man? You've been really contentious. They replied, we can plainly see the Lord is with you, so we want to enter into a sworn treaty with you. Let's make a covenant. Hey, it seems like you're prospering. You've become very wealthy. We don't want to fight you anymore. Let's join you. Let's enter into the accords. Sound familiar? Swear that you will not harm us, just as we have never troubled you. We have always treated you well, and we sent you away from us in peace. And now look how the Lord has blessed you. Oh boy, haven't we done great? We've been so good to you, So Isaac prepared a covenant feast to celebrate the treaty, and they ate and drank together. Early in the next morning, they each took a solemn oath not to interfere with each other. Then Isaac sent them home again, and they left him in peace. So here you see the Isaac and Abimelech accords of negative 2000, BC 2000, blah, 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 right? Here we see some accords already taking place in the Middle East between people, between businesses, between tribal groups, and it's one of wanting peace, wanting prosperity, and not wanting to fight, and all that. It says, that very day Isaac's servants came and told him about a new well that they had dug. We found water, they exclaimed. So Isaac named the well Sheba, which means oath. And to this day, that town, the town that grew up there is called Beersheba, which means well of the oath. At the age of 40, Esau married two Hittite wives, Judith, the daughter of Beri, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon. Elon Musk? No, in the Bible? But Esau's wives made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. Oh no, right? It's like Isaac's like, my heavens, what is going on here? Isaac, Rebekah, doing well. Seems like things are finally mellowed out, some peace, and then there's the sibling rivalry, right? Then there's the issue. Here comes, Esau. And Esau marries two women. It's a little different, right? Than you see Abraham, and his heart for Isaac's wife was to be married a part of his family. Remember, took his servant and said, go down to where my family resides, and find a wife for Isaac. Here you see Esau marrying two Hittite wives. And he names them here. And so, you get the idea that Esau is kind of a little rogue. He's the dude who's kind of just doing his thing, doing what he wants to do. Hey, I want my autonomy. I want to do what I want to do. Don't tell me what I can't do. I'm going to go do it. And he goes and does it. But he's got some bitterness in his heart. And it says, but Esau's wives made life miserable for Isaac and Rebekah. So these two ladies, part of the Hittites, were in contention with Isaac and Rebekah. Maybe it was their families, right? And their families' businesses and the tension between them. And maybe they were part of that crew that, wanted those wells and didn't like to see the prosperity that God had given to Isaac and Rebekah. And sometimes those jealousies creep up, right? As we saw, business, financial jealousies, right? Why are you so upset at the Jewish people? Why? Oh, because they're so financially maybe successful. Maybe they're hard workers, but then you become jealous, right? You want something they have. You envy them. You want them to be hurt so you can have their riches, right? We get into all these crazy, sick emotions and behaviors as human beings, to where fights come from and wars come from. They all come from within the human heart. And you see it on display in a kind of a, if you will, a Middle East business perspective. They're fighting, they're having little wars going on. They're trying to jockey for economic position in the Middle East. And there are some accords, some allies, some, alignments going on with Abimelech and Isaac. And they're a team now. And they're going to make sure that they don't interfere with one another's stuff, and they work together, and they enter into an oath, an agreement, an accord. We see that today in the Middle East as well. People go, hey, maybe we should just be on the side of Israel because they are powerful, and they will win us in a war, and let's just befriend them. They're a very wealthy place, and we can get in with them and trade with them, and da-da-da-da-da. And you see it all still going on. It's neat, too, to know that Isaac dealt with the same things his father dealt with inside his heart. The human condition is one where God told Noah, right, that your guys' hearts are bent from childhood on, that you guys are filled with iniquity. There's something going on in us that makes us scared, fearful, not want to trust God. And Isaac had to really focus on trusting the Lord to stay in the land during the famine and trust that God was going to do a work. It's a good word for us too. We got to stay faithful, stay consistent. And even when God tells us to do something that might be not so logical, but when we walk by faith, we have a peace. We know that God's with us and He'll see us through. Cool stuff. So it's a great chapter. Love that chapter, by the way. Hey, Paula, we'll talk to you later. And Craig, hope you can catch up with the devotions as well. So this one's not so long, so it might be easy to start catching up a little bit. Okay, you guys have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.